Hey everyone, today we are answering the age-old question, 100 men versus 1 gorilla, who will win? As a pro gamer slash fantasy movie enjoyer slash Clash of Clans challenge world record speedrunner of 2024, I feel that I am more than qualified to answer this question. This is very similar to the anime Attack on Titan, when Levi, Jin and other scouts were charging towards the Beast Titan in Attack on Titan, but obviously the Beast Titan is a horrible matchup compared to the gorilla, due to its insane size capabilities and overall stats. Another analogy would be 100 ants versus 1 grasshopper, who will win. In that scenario, 100 ants will win, but not without some casualties from the ant side. Unlike humans, ants have strong jaws to grip and leave objects in their jaws. And ants are very strong, able to lift 10 to 50 times their body weight of an average 0.1 milligram of... that's their body weight. Anyways, although the grasshopper has immense strength and agility, and is better in many stats than ants, it is alone and without help from its own kind. Now let us set some assumptions. I will assume this will be a battle to the death, instead of simply knocking out the opposing side, and that I am one of the 100 men in this death battle to up the stakes. In this death battle, there is no mercy or surrender option. Neither side is pacifist or willing to strike up a peace treaty or use diplomacy. Also, the primate can't speak human language, so both sides are angry, ready to fight to the death. Imagine your average Joe at age 25, modern male at the peak of his prime, with decent nappy muscle gains and no steroids usage from hitting the gym twice a week. With an average IQ of 110, estimated from an IQ range of 85 to 140. Now we shall clone this average Joe 99 times to get our 100 men. Willing to volunteer or be chosen forcefully to be placed in this deathmatch. On the other side, the average primate is at least 10 times stronger than your average Joe and twice as fast in terms of attack and movement speed, due to its dangerous jungle environment such as the tropical or subtropical forests in sub-Sahara Africa, and sharing the area codes with leopards and chimpanzees. Here are your average typical gorilla stats. Gorillas are the largest living primates, reaching heights between 1.25 and 1.8 meters, about 4 feet 1 inch and 5 feet 11 inch. So we're picking the max stats for the gorilla, because the gorilla is very lonely and sad. He has to fight. He is outnumbered 1 to 100. So we're gonna give him the best stats that we can. But gorilla also weighs between 100 and 270 kilograms, about 220 and 600 pounds, and its arm spans up to 2.6 meters, about 8 feet and 6 inches. Gorillas tend to live 35 to 40 years in the wild, and then they finally get sick of the bland vegetation and diabetes, so they usually end their hobo phase and decided to move back to the city with their parents. Gorillas can lift over 1,763 pounds, about 800 kilograms of dead weight, and are able to lift about 10 to 27 times their own full body weight, according to online sources. Right, let us talk about the gorilla and the 100 men. What are their weaknesses, strengths, etc. The weaknesses of gorilla consist of lack of allies. It has no eyes on its back. The gorilla's back is more vulnerable, prone to be attacked in its weak points such as the head and the neck at the back. Gorilla is unable to talk or understand human language, so it cannot try to intimidate or mock the humans. The gorilla will gas out easier due to its size and more higher oxygen requirement. The gorilla's weaknesses are nose, throat, neck and chin, which is prone to getting it knocked out, or hitting those weak points would really stop its breathing. Now, the weaknesses of 100 men. 100 men will find it difficult to deal critical damage due to their weaker muscles and less dense bones compared to the gorilla. They are also very fragile and weak compared to the gorilla, and it's very easy to incapacitate a human than it is to deal damage and incapacitate the gorilla. Now for the strengths of the gorilla can use tools rarely. The gorilla is very strong in pushing, lifting and pulling weights, but primarily strongest at pulling things apart. So there's very strong pulling strength. The gorilla can send men flying with a single kick or punch. The gorilla can unalive in one strike, kinda like Saitama in One Punch Man. The gorilla has insane defense bonuses against shock and blunt damage due to their big muscles, bones, fur and skin. The gorilla has super strength and high movement and attack speed. Now, for the strength of the man. The man can use their skulls to headbutt, their fists, elbows, knees, shin and feet to deal blunt damage in a fight. The man can use judo, wrestling and yoga techniques on their opponents to use their momentum against them, able to send their enemies to the ground for submission or escape. The man can use tools and makeshift weapons like stone axe, ropes, pockets and etc. The man can organize into combat formations and strategies. The man can nominate a leader to oversee the whole arena and alert allies of the situation, commanding them with instructions to tactical retreat, regroup or switch formation. The man can master hysterical strength when in stressful life or death situations. The most common anecdotal examples based on hearsay are of parents lifting vehicles to rescue their children, and when people are in life and death situations, periods of increased strength are short-lived, usually no longer than a few minutes and might lead to muscle injuries and exhaustion later. Here are some common questions and we are going to answer them. So, what is the setting or terrain of this fight? Is it on a large empty laboratory or room coliseum? Or is it a giant pit with no way out? Maybe it's on a mountain slope or in the jungle with other animals. So I would say that this will be a sudden death match happening in the middle of the jungle, except that our 101 combatants are surrounded by an unscalable steel circle wall for this arena of 100 meters or 328 feet in diameters. Second question, can we leave the starting area and continue the fight in different terrains? That is to say that to extend this fight, try to draw it out. So my answer will be no, you can't leave the area. You must be finished in the same place that it started. Number 3. How long is this battle? 24 hours? 1 hour? Or until incapacitation? The answer will be until either side is completely dead or unconscious and or crippled. Number 4. Is there prep time? Or are the 100 men just randomly picked and thrown into this battle? The answer will be there will be no prep time. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Number 5. Why would we want to throw ourselves into this meat grinder disguised as a gorilla? If I were one of the 100 men, I would hide myself in a temporary shelter, wait it out and flee or become submissive, as you should if you were to encounter a wild gorilla in the jungle. Answer is that they have no choice, as some aliens teleported the 101 combatants into this deathmatch against their will. Number 6. Are the 100 men and the gorilla allowed to use objects in their surroundings to make tools or use as weapons? My thoughts would be that is, as soon as the 101 combatants are present in this randomly selected jungle arena, they are able to use their surroundings to their advantage. There are no rules except that you can't leave the arena and you must fight to the death. There are no other rules. Okay, number 7. Are the combatants clothed and wearing shoes? How much protection do the 100 men have? Answer will be, the men are modernly clothed and they have shoes, but otherwise all combatants come unarmed and have no carry-on bags or weapons on them. Alright, let's talk about the wind condition. For the gorilla, its wind conditions are to jump on top of the men and attack with kicks and avoid being taken down by playing Mario. You know Mario would jump on his opponents like the turtles, like stomping them and just jumping on top of them. Okay, the second one, gorilla will probably grab 1 or 2 men by their limbs and use them as a long-range weapon by spin bashing the men like a Beyblade. So it's gonna do a full Garen in League of Legends spin attack. Okay, number 3, hit and run. The gorilla is up against many opponents and it is wise for it to minimize damage and deal damage but minimize the damage it receives, because it has weak points that can be exploited. Number 4, now the gorilla has to conserve energy and use stamina efficiently. so that it will not completely exhaust itself and be unable to defend or move or dodge from attacks. Number 5. The gorilla can start rolling forward in a ball by curling itself up to squash and brute force its way of being dogpiled. Now for the win conditions for the 100 men, they can dig huge pits to lure it in or shove it in, which will be done by delegating some of the troops. So you have like one quarter to engage the gorilla, the other is to distract the gorilla, the third quarter will be doing some secret tactics, and the fourth quarter will be digging pits so to lure the gorilla to fall into it. Okay, number 2, the man can use blood and dead body parts to make the floor slippery, or try to trip the primate so that it falls to the ground and allows itself to get jumped. So this could backfire easily on the 100 men as they are also using the same ground that is bloody and slippery. Number 3, the 100 men can build a human wall / pyramid so that they can fall on the primate's head and shoulders to deal massive fall damage. Number 4, the 100 men can jump and grab hold of his limb until it's too fatigued to move. I think this would not be effective at the start of the match because the gorilla will not be affected by this tactic at the start of the match. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Number 5, 100 men can nominate someone to be the captain / seer so that he can give commands from the top of a tree, have a high ground advantage. Number 6, the 100 men must be able to sacrifice their men and themselves to give their team even more advantages, because if they are unable to defeat the gorilla, eventually all of them will die and they will be unalive by the gorilla. Okay. Now we have 7. The men can use pocket sand and large rocks for improvised weapons to blind the primate and to increase their DPS upgrade. The slight increase instead of breaking their own fist or wrist. Okay, here are some suggestions from some 3 YouTubers. So for Andrew Rousso, he says that, so I'm just going to reply, okay, no Andrew, we can't try to suck off the primate and make it let its own guard down. It will simply stomp the person's head into spaghetti. Okay, the second one, also no, we can't stuff clothes or an arm down the primate's throat because of how agile and strong it is. It will simply bite off the clothing or arm halfway and stab the person's neck or arm. It won't work. And for Jonny Razer, no, we can't use battle of attrition and try to stack minimal damage and fatigue on primate. We definitely won't be able to grab the gorilla by the limbs or by its handful clumps of hair. The gorilla is smart and will do everything in its power to fight effectively. If some people grab the primate by its limb, they will immediately get unalive or crippled, and they will let go due to the pain and severe injuries. Grabbing it by the hair will simply cause the hair to be ripped out due to how fast and hard the gorilla will move and spin, and eventually there will be nothing for the man to grab onto due to all the hair being ripped out. Humans do not have the grip strength relative to the ant's jaw, so it will be quite difficult even if it worked. People underestimate how weak and fragile humans are. Okay, let us talk about how the fight will go. Now both sides know they must unalive each other in order to win and survive. This is especially true for the gorilla because it is outnumbered 1 to 100. In your normal scenario of picking 100 men from the weakest to the strongest, meaning we have each man to represent each 1% of the spectrum, 100% the primate will win. In our special scenario, where we are picking the strongest gorilla at its peak primate and physical health with max stats and experience, fighting and winning against leopards and gangs of chimpanzees. So we're picking this strongest gorilla to fight against 100 average men in their peak prime as well. In this case, there's a slim chance humans can win, but how can 100 men win against the gorilla? I think the best strategy to defeat the primate is to simply overwhelm it with enormous stacking weight of all 100 men by trying to knock down the gorilla by sacrificing themselves and diving at the gorilla's feet and distracting it by throwing sand at its head, and have 50 men punch and kick the gorilla to distract and keep it busy while they also being thrown into the meat grinder. Our other 50 men will be surrounding the gorilla on its left and right side to build a pyramid of men. By having each man huddled together in turtle form and forming a line of 10 men or more at the bottom, followed by a new line of men onto the bottom line. So you're stacking men up like it's a Jenga, and continue to repeat this until we reach at least 3 times the height of the primate. Now with 10 out of 50 men completely bodied and unalived by primate, and the primate now suffers some fatigue and injuries, the 2 pyramid of men will now fall on top of the primate and drop kick the primate like a Naruto Uzumaki barrage combo attack. If the primate doesn't dodge or defend properly in time, the drop kicks can land critically on its head, neck and face, causing it to stagger and fracture its bones. Of course, we're also breaking the man's bones as well. So the man landed on the gorilla in a crumbled mess on the ground. So they're all injured and lying on the ground, like huddled together in a mess. So with the gorilla buried beneath them as it tries to knock them away, and breaking their skulls and lifting and snapping their lips to climb out of being crushed. So the gorilla is in the middle in this mountain of men. He is in the middle of the mountain, so he's trying to like push upwards towards the air, so that it's like climbing out of an avalanche. So he's halfway, he is still stuck halfway from the stomach and down. Okay, now some men will start to rise from their injuries and the shock of falling to the ground, getting hit very hard, and they'll decide to grab the gorilla's arms by hugging it, while others climb on top of this mountain to kick the primate in the head and shoulders. So the primate, with full exhaustion after fighting for a whole 5 minutes and still struggling to climb up but failed, didn't have the stamina to attack, let alone defend itself from kicks to its weak points. So one man with the extra weight then proceeds to run up this pyramid, this mountain mess, and try to jump and sit on the primate's head with its butt. And under the immense pressure and weight, the primate's neck snapped and unalived itself once and for all. So actually this is how I think 100 men will win. Okay, now let us talk about how the gorilla will win. You know from my statements and explanation, I am very biased for the gorilla to win. So let's talk about how one man, so the gorilla will win because there are examples of one man able to unalive many men with a melee sharp object in media and real life cases. Okay, let us look at Exhibit A. We have the 2017 London Bridge attack. On 3rd June 2017, a terrorist vehicle ramming and stabbing took place in London. A van was deliberately driven into pedestrians on London Bridge and then crashed on Borough High Street, just south of the River Thames. The van's 3 occupants then ran to the nearby Borough Arcade area and began stabbing people in and around restaurants and pubs. They were shot dead by Metropolitan Police and City of London Police authorised firearms officers. 8 people were killed and 48 others were injured, including members of the public and 4 unarmed police officers who attempted to stop the assailants. So in this case, 3 terrorists were able to cause 18 casualties each and were stopped roughly around there, and were stopped by armed police officers. So they have to resort to using firearms to stop the terrorists. Okay, Exhibit B. So in the movies, right, we have Rambo. So I know that it is not based on real life stories, but full-grown adult male with enough intelligence, strength, agility, endurance, equipment, skills, etc. One man can definitely take out many men, multiple men, and be hard to unalive. Exhibit C. So there are stories of World War veterans in trench warfare. They sneaked over and went behind enemy lines, the trenches, and single-handedly took out multiple soldiers alone with knives and still survived. So this shows that a single man can in fact take down many alone. Now imagine one gorilla which can unalive or incapacitate humans with one unarmed strike with ease. One swing of its arm, closed fist, would send an average adult man flying, breaking his ribs and crushing/rupturing his organs like lungs, hearts, etc. And the flying man would either collide with other men, causing them even more severe injuries, or hitting the ground, taking even more severe blunt damage to the back of his head and back, breaking and fracturing bones, knocking them out of the fight. So people forget how weak and fragile human beings are. Like a slight hit to the neck, humans will be unalive. So these are the capabilities of a full-grown adult man in their prime. So just imagine. So how can the gorilla win? Imagine this man is now a primate, holding onto a man or two by the legs and spin bashing other men's, the face, in the chest, in the legs, crushing their bones with ease and unaliving them. It could then swing and throw the grabbed man towards the others, causing serious blunt damage to the other man's chest, instantly unaliving the grabbed man. There will be so many dead bodies on the ground, it could keep replenishing its human weapon supply, and the gorilla can continue to have this extended reach and increased damage advantage. When the gorilla gets tired of moving its arm, it could rely on its leg to hop on top of the man's chest and then their heads to stomp on them, playing Mario, breaking their shoulders, chests and heads, jumping off their bodies, effectively downward hip kicking them diagonally. It can also curl up like a giant ball and jump and spin forward to strike the man like a bowling ball in bowling, crushing the men into bloody messes and knocking them down with brute force. Even when the gorilla is completely exhausted, its weak points are so high up and defendable that it could simply dodge and weave the men's futile attempts to swing their fists at its head and neck. When they miss their targets and hit the primate's heart and tough defenses, their fists and wrists would snap or fracture, causing minimal, negligible damage that the primate will mostly shrug it off. As long as the primate doesn't fall to the ground, leaving its back and weak points exposed, it is going to be difficult for the men to jump and weigh the gorilla down with their insane collective dumbbells and cause serious downwards jumping attacks to the primate's vulnerabilities. So I would say in 7 out of 10 times, the gorilla will definitely beat the 100 men and win, due to how strong and fast it is and how weak the men are in terms of both offense and defense. The gorilla completely outclasses the humans, and as long as it does not make a mistake or two, it will probably win with ease. It will take a lot of sacrifice, pre-game, early strategizing, meetings and practices for the humans to even have a decent chance to win and level the playing field against the gorilla. So I'm not saying that the humans cannot win with spears or improvised weapons that they crafted beforehand. No, but in this unarmed fight scenario, the gorilla will probably win. And don't get it twisted, the gorilla will be super bruised, bloody and fatigued after the fight in 7 out of 10 times, winning scenario, despite causing a bloodbath and massacre. Even when completely gassed out at 5 minutes, the gorilla is still super tanky and can use its leg to tackle forward with full force while wrapping its head and chest with its arm. Again, going full bowling ball mode by curling itself into a ball when overwhelmed and crushing the man in front of it. There is not much the 100 men can do if they are not employing some crazy tactics to capitalize on their incredible numbers and combined weight. The gorilla can conserve and regain its stamina while defending and repositioning itself to avoid getting critical hit from the back or in the neck or head. The gorilla has unaliving game-ending strikes, while the 100 men has to strike hard, fast enough with many hits at the primate's weak points to even deal significant damage to maybe cripple or stun it temporarily. So I conclude that in this 100 men versus 1 gorilla deathmatch, the gorilla will win 70% of the time, unless some lucky events happen, such as the gorilla making mistakes or getting caught lacking by slipping on the blood, and the men were able to deal critical damage to the gorilla. Alright, that's all folks, we agree with this outcome and explanation. Will 100 men win instead, or at least have a much higher chance to beat this gorilla? Comment below. Also, tell me what I should talk about next. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please sign up for the videos. Thanks for watching and I'll see you all next time. Adios.